Right now, somewhere in your home, you have products from at least 4 different brands. Maybe a Dove soap, a KitKat wrapper, some Maggi noodles, dog food for your pet. You picked those brands. You chose them. Or did you? Because here's what nobody told you. Dove, KitKat, Maggi, and Purina pet food. They're all owned by the same 2 companies. You thought you were choosing. You were just moving between rooms in the same house. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the biggest illusion in modern business, the illusion of choice. Let's start with something simple. Walk into any supermarket. You see hundreds of brands, rows and rows of apparent choice, competing products, different logos, different promises. Now let me show you what you're actually looking at. Nestlé, one company, based in Switzerland, founded in 1867 by a pharmacist trying to reduce infant mortality. Today, Nestlé owns over 2,000 brands. 2,000. KitKat, Nescafé, Maggi, Purina, Gerber baby food, San Pellegrino, Perrier, Nespresso, Cheerios. In most countries outside North America, Smarties, Milo, Toll House. They operate in 185 countries. They have 335 factories. In 2025 alone, they generated nearly 90 billion Swiss francs in revenue. And that's just one company. Now meet their rival, Unilever, Dove, Axe, Lynx, Lipton, Knorr, Ben & Jerry's, Hellmann's, Sure Deodorant, Domestos, Simple Skincare, Vaseline. That's all Unilever, all one company. And then Procter Gamble, Gillette, Pampers, Tide, Ariel, Oral-B, Head & Shoulders, Pantene, Olay, Febreze, Vicks. Between just these 3 companies, they touch almost every room in your home. Kitchen, bathroom, laundry, baby's room, pet's bowl. Here's the question nobody asks. Why don't these companies just put their name on everything? Why does Nestlé let KitKat be KitKat? Why doesn't it say Nestlé KitKat on the front of every pack? The answer is psychology, and it's brilliant. Consumers trust brands, not corporations. If you love Ben & Jerry's, you're not thinking about Unilever's supply chain or quarterly earnings call. You're thinking about Cherry Garcia. The moment you see Unilever stamped on the front, the spell breaks. You start thinking about the machine behind the product, the corporate decisions, the lobbying, the shareholder returns. So they keep the brands separate. Each one has its own personality, its own story, its own marketing. Dove tells women to love themselves. Axe, also owned by Unilever, sells to teenage boys with ads about sexual attraction. Same company, opposite messages, designed for completely different emotional triggers. Studies show that 54% of Americans cannot correctly identify who owns their favorite brands. They think Honest Tea is an independent health company. It was owned by Coca-Cola. They think Burt's Bees is a small natural brand. It's also Clorox. The illusion is working exactly as designed. But here's where it gets even stranger, because even Nestlé, Unilever, and Procter & Gamble, these trillion-dollar companies, they're not at the top of the chain either. Meet the actual owners: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, 3 investment firms. Most people have never heard of them. Yet together, they are the largest shareholders in 88% of S&P 500 companies. They control 82% of the market cap of America's biggest businesses. BlackRock alone manages over $10 trillion in assets. That number is so large, it has no real comparison. It's larger than the GDP of every country on Earth except the United States and China, and they own significant stakes in Nestlé, Unilever, and Procter & Gamble simultaneously. Think about what that means. The companies that are supposed to be competing with each other for your shampoo dollar have the same investors at the top. Vanguard is the largest shareholder in Procter & Gamble with nearly 10%. BlackRock holds over 5%. State Street holds over 4%. And those same firms own similar stakes in Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and every major food, beverage, and consumer brand you can name. Bloomberg once called BlackRock the 4th branch of government because of how deeply embedded it is in financial systems worldwide. This isn't a conspiracy. It's just how passive investing works at scale. Index funds buy everything, and when you're big enough, you end up owning everything. So what does this actually change for you? First, your choice is real at the product level. Dove soap and Axe spray are genuinely different products. The quality differences are real. The ingredients differ. But your choice at the brand level is largely an illusion. When you switch from Pantene to Head & Shoulders because you're annoyed at Pantene, you just moved money from one P&G product to another P&G product. When you boycott Nestlé and switch to a different water brand, there's a very good chance that water brand is also Nestlé. Second, this concentration of ownership has real economic effects. When a handful of companies dominate every category, the pressure to lower prices disappears. The incentive to truly innovate shrinks. You compete on marketing, not on genuinely better products. And third, it means that the independent, artisanal, authentic branding you see everywhere is almost always a constructed story. The craft beer that feels like it was brewed by someone's dad in a garage, probably owned by AB InBev, the largest beer company in the world, which itself controls over 500 brands globally. The small batch olive oil, the locally inspired cereal, the family recipe pasta sauce, often a subsidiary of a holding company traded on a stock exchange. None of this is illegal. None of it is hidden in a dark room somewhere. It's all on public record. Annual reports, stock filings, shareholder disclosures, anyone can look it up. But nobody told you, and that's the point. The system doesn't need to hide. It just needs you to not look. The next time you stand in a supermarket aisle staring at a wall of apparent choice, you'll see it differently now. Not rows of competitors. One big house with 100 different doors. And somewhere in a glass tower in New York, Zurich, or London, someone owns the whole building.